Well, hello everybody, Larry Young here again with another segment of Old Man Living Life with Purity. And I've got Alex Fiato back in the studio with us. Say hello, Alex.
Good to be here, Larry. Thank you.
And nice to have you. Thank you for coming in here. I know this is a labor of love, and it might end up costing you and your social life. I know that, but that's new.
That's all right. That's all right.
Our social lives are both depressed anyway, so what's the difference?
Anyways.
We'll get through it. But in this episode, we wanted to talk a little bit about the Blessed Mother. And today is 9/11, the anniversary of the Twin Towers, the day after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. We're very mindful of that and very sorrowful. But one of the last things Charlie Kirk had texted out and did a message on was on the 8th of this month, September the 8th, which was the Blessed Mother's birthday. And he did a text out and was talking about the Virgin Mary, the Blessed Mother, being actually the antidote for feminine toxicity. And this is something we've talked about a lot in here. And I was pretty interested in the fact that I had an opportunity to run across the young man back 8 years ago or so. It was 2017. I was at the George W. Bush Library, working there as a docent, trying to earn my stripes to be a regular tour guide at the place. But I was just working in the area where we had George Bush's artwork, where he did. There were three distinct areas of this one room that we had the different phases of George W.'s development as an artist. So every time he had a different instructor, he would concentrate on a different area of the anatomy. And George would, the president would do, he would take photos of ex-service members and he would paint them. And from their photos, he would use those as a still life imagery to try to recreate these things. So that was his subject matter. So these were all wartime heroes that he was painting, and some of them been just had limbs gone, things like that. So he painted them in their reality. So I was in there in the library this day when three people came in. One guy, just a huge giant. He was like 6'8", just skinny as a bean, and that was Charlie Kirk. And he came in with two other members of his team, and they were going to do one of these tabletop discussions the next day on the campus at Southern Methodist University, where we were at. But they came in, wanted to visit the library a bit, and I had the chance to show them around the artwork. And I'd known this guy. I'd seen him on TV a little bit, and I didn't think, that much of the whole thing, except, hey, here's a guy who's coming out and he's doing things that are a little bit different. I didn't think he was going to be the most photogenic of people, but he was 23 and gangly, and I think he was almost 6'8". He was huge. I mean, he was way over me. I mean, I'm looking up at like this the whole time.
Wow.
But nice group of people, and they came in, and we got talking about Jesus and about the Holy Family of all things. Just kind of the topic just went to that, about families being the course of things. And I had Our Lady of America medallions were in my car in the parking lot. So I said, excuse me a second, I have to go check on something. So I ran to the car to get medallions for this group of people. When I came back, two of the others were gone, but Charlie was still there. And so I gave him the three medallions. And I kind of joked with him. I said, put this in your wallet. The other guys will think you're carrying a condom with you. But he says, I don't think I need that. And I said, well, you might want the medallion. He says, well, I'm not Catholic. I said, well, good news for you. Neither was she. I said, she wasn't Catholic either. I said, so you got a lot in common. He thought that was kind of funny. And he says, are you Catholic? I said, yeah. And I said, but, I'm not expecting everyone else to be Catholic either. He said, it comes with a lot of baggage and responsibilities. He just kind of smiled at that. And he wasn't, I think, on fire at that point for his evangelization. I think that came with a little more time when we were reading. So he was more about being a conservative and having values as a young person. So that was an interesting meetup. So that was my brush with a young man 8 years ago before he became super mega popular. But you could see there was something in that young man in his thinking, and I really can't thank heaven enough for having sent us this young guy to help set the trail for where we need right now. We just talked about the perils from George Washington's vision and how we're in the third peril of that. Whether we'll get out of it or not, I don't know. I'm hoping that the angel of America is strong enough to win this battle, and we're able to stay around long enough to watch it happen and come out of it unscathed. So in the meantime, I wanted to, pass along that we're thinking about Charlie Kirk and everyone around the country right now who's having a moment right now. And I think there's a lot of people in the last 24 hours, Alex, know who they are.
No, absolutely.
They may have not have known, but now they know who they are.
I believe you're right. My daughter called and she was shook by his passing, and she says, I wanted to post something, I think, on the restaurant website or something, but I can't find the words. The words aren't coming to me. Mm-hmm. But you could hear the distress and anguish.
How old's your daughter?
Well, Elizabeth's 40, I think 41.
So this is very impactful for people of that age. I mean, yeah. Charlie was 10 years younger than her, but he was moving people, aged people all around the world.
Right.
It wasn't just a U.S. thing.
Yeah. Elizabeth certainly maintained her faith and is very dedicated. And she's a warrior. But Charlie had an effect on her because he was the real deal.
Mm-hmm. Well, the truth has a way of making that come out.
Yeah.
People know the truth when they hear it, and they know when something's bullshit, and they kind of want to call it BS on the person saying it, but they kind of lay off a little bit to be nice. Yeah. This is their empathy. This is this nice card.
That's right. And I'm thinking about your interaction with him, how providential that was for him to be in the same space where you are, out in, it was Texas, right?
I was in Dallas, Texas, on the Southern Methodist University campus.
I hate to use the phrase, but it was kind of like a miracle for you to get to know him.
Well, it was just a happenstance meeting, but I saw that there was something special about these people, and I had completed most of the legal details with the Our Lady of America case, and I had gone to Dallas to try to rebuild my life economically and just to try to start a new reality.
Yeah, really. Did you know much about him when you met up with
I
him?
had seen him on Fox News occasionally he would go on and do what we call a hit. He would come in and talk about things that was going on with his campus work. He had an organization called Turning Point USA, and it was a turning point he was talking about when young people come to realize, the truth and things, how they have these turning points in their lives that move them in a perfect direction. And we talked a bit about, in our own discussions, about Socrates and the Socratic method of laying out arguments. And this is where, my thinking was going. He actually brought up Socrates, and I said, the Socratic method. I said, very good. And Plato, with the reality of watching the shadows on the wall in the caves and things like this. And he was very much into that, the classics.
So he was honing his skills on logic.
Oh, he was already there. He'd probably been reading these books and things like that since he was like 13. This kid was really ahead of the game as far as the rest of the crew goes. Different speed, but just a regular guy. And what they wanted to know from me and others is, where do we go get the best barbecue, and, around here, where would you go? Right. And there was lots of opportunities to enjoy things like that. But I sent him down to the proper area where he went and was able to find what he wanted with his group of people that day. But he wasn't like a partier. He was just a goal-oriented guy. And this is when we talked about out of Socrates, the Socratic method, was that you need to, as a young person, find a telos or an objective for yourself that's out and away from you. There's some goal that you want to drive towards and strive to be or create in your life. This telos, what is your destination of sorts? Do you have some place in mind? Everyone needs one because that's how you set your sights.
So what was Charlie's?
Charlie really didn't say it. He was more about trying to discover the truth. You know, he was only 23 years old at this time, but he was still talking in framing things logically that a university professor might do. And this is the type of work he was doing on the campuses, trying to talk to students and engage them in conversations and things like that. He wasn't trying to tell anybody what to do or how to behave. He was trying to have conversations so that their own intellect would drive them to the proper answer for them and for everyone. And what Charlie was always after, he was trying to illuminate the truth and the beauty in the world, because these are the things that are at the core of wisdom. Truth and beauty, things that are truthful and beautiful, don't change. And wisdom is knowing what is absolute and does not change in our lives. And this is how the search for wisdom, many times some people will get there early in their life and other people will never get there because they're always living in this fantasy. Charlie and the people that he tried to touch were those who were trying to seek this truth and wisdom and this beauty in their lives. And whenever you're searching for truth and beauty, you know what's at the end, at the telos? It's always God. It's always God is the telos. What you're looking for is God. And this is how people would find God in the search for what is truthful and what is beautiful in the world. And they would always say, well, there's God. And this is how the church brought culture to the world. But truthful and beautiful in artworks and things like this. The church was the creator, what we call the person who kept everything all together. What do they call that? Archivist, if you will, for the world of all things truthful and beautiful. The church pulled all these things together, and that's where cultures came out of. Was these collections of these artworks and books and things like that that other people would have destroyed. But the church held on to it, said this is something here. We need to hold on to this. We can't let this be destroyed. And that's the church archivists of the 1400s and all like that. They were accumulating all these beautiful things, you know, to keep on hand so they weren't lost. You know, the evil would try to destroy these things. Because, believe it or not, people had very deep thoughts back in the year 1000 that are truthful today. Man has not changed that much. But Charlie, I think, was definitely attracted to those types of things, truthful, beautiful.
Do you know when he first began to look into the Blessed Mother and publicly?
I don't. And I'm sure he knew about those things. He studied the Holy Family. He studied, you know, Jesus's life, you know, in Nazareth. I'm sure he studied all those things. He was a Protestant. He was interested in Catholic depth of virtue on things, in the solemnity. So he was attracted to that, but he was not so, I think, fond of the
hierarchy,
the people, the church itself, you know, the guys running it who screwed it up.
The robber barons that are...
Well, the people who have kind of put pride and hubris above Jesus' calling to serve and take care of the widows and the orphans, and to travel lightly, you know, don't take much with you, don't collect possessions, you know, take care of my people. And this is where the church, since that time, the 1000s, has worked on trying to build this dynasty, if you will, this huge corporation. So much so that the Catholic Church needs to have entire offices of people to maintain their investments. And I would say, why does the Catholic Church have investments? You know, the Catholic Church should be, you know, the one who's not investing, but investing in the safety and security of their most needy. You know, these
Sure,
are things that kind of got
and
away from.
even if they had, well, the problem is that the way they raise money is problematic because, giving money to the church from secular governmental, that's problematic.
Well, when they confuse the authority of the government with the authority of the church,
Yeah,
and
it's a
they kind of
problem.
got together, that was where this nasty collaboration and this incestuous relationship between the church and the governments was taking place, and I don't think they can get out of it. I really don't think they
Probably
can get
not.
out
I
of it.
mean, if you got the mafia involved in, taking care of their finances, or if you're filtering money through the Vatican banks, and if these things if they're occurring, there's no way to get out of it. I mean, you've already made your deal with the devil. Even in saying that, they should, any of the money they have, they should get rid of it quickly. Whatever, if you're building wells,
I know.
get rid of it.
Take care of people where they live.
You can say,
live their lives.
it's illicit money, but we're not keeping it for ourselves.
No, we're uplifting people where they live and where they are,
Right.
and bringing them this element of hope. Water, the basics of life, and things like this.
That's right.
Animals to help them take care of themselves.
Seeds, whatever they
The
need.
basics. This is what sustains your culture and brings you the grains and your fruit.